Hello, Steve.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and we are already live on Facebook. I'll just
Uh-oh.
I'll just go into my group and check whether we are live. Yes, we are all
Okay.
set.
All set. We're live.
Yes, we are live.
I tried doing dead on Facebook once. It didn't work. I'm not sure why.
I could teach you.
uh,
Right.
oh, you're in England and I'm in Florida in the United States. How cool is that, really?
It is. It is. It is
Yeah.
amazing, and that's what collaboration looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm. Right.
So
Let's do this.
yeah, let's jump right in, because everybody wants to hear what we have to say and they don't want to get to know us. I mean, we can argue that point for days and days, but truthfully,
Mm,
people's time is limited. So they want to know you, they want to get to understand you and appreciate you. But if we spend a lot of time, I have to admit, a lot of people that I work with spend a lot of time saying hi on Facebook, hi to all the people who jump in. I don't care who your friends are. Jump in and tell me what you have to tell me. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
exactly. And that's an important lesson in professional speaking as well. And we'll talk a bit more about that.
That's right. So I'm Steve Sapato. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. You can go to my webpage, stevesapatoseminars.com, which is currently being rebuilt from the ground up. You can find me at my events at speakertalks.com, Speaker Talk Speakers Academy. So all those wonderful places you can find me. Where can they find you, Parul?
Right. I'm going to come to that. They can find me very much lurking and talking and speaking in this group on Facebook and LinkedIn, but we'll talk about that. Let's get started and let's launch the Wealthy Wednesdays. I'm really excited to be launching Wealthy Wednesdays with the first speaker. The first conversation that we are going to have under Wealthy Wednesdays would be with Steve Sapato. I want to spend a minute explaining to everyone what the purpose of the Wealthy Wednesdays is. The purpose of Wealthy Wednesdays is to help us get wealthier. Simple. Wealthier, yes. And I see that happening in two ways. Number one, through the gift of learning. And that's what our guest speakers are going to do. Help us they're going to share with us their wisdom, they're going to share with us their knowledge. So that's one way in which I see us amassing that wealth. And number two is, I see us amassing that wealth through the gift of being seen and heard. And I call it a gift because when we are being seen and heard, it can result into as tangible things as signing up new clients or building new relationships, or something as intangible as making feel as good about ourselves and the work that we do, being seen and heard by ourselves and feeling validated. So that's what Wealthy Wednesdays is going to be about. So we are going to launch straight into this. Welcome, Steve. I am so excited that you are here.
Me too. Thanks a lot for inviting me. This is going to be really fun.
Yes, it's going to be fun. So, Steve, I know that you're called the most famous speaker of America. I want to know, what's your story?
Well, I'm going to silence my phone because I forgot to do that before we came on, and I don't want to be interrupted. So you guys should silence your phones too, in case you forgot. But my story, I mean, I'm old dude, and so I've been speaking for a little over 40 years. People always ask me, how'd you get started, Steve? Like it's going to be some revelation. And what it amounts to is I was working at IBM as a salesperson. My mother called me up one day and said, hey, her speaker at her women's group or women's organization had canceled at the last minute. She said, so I need a speaker. And I went, well, that's a shame. I don't really know any speakers. And she said, I don't think you understand. You're the speaker tonight. And I'm like, no, I'm not the speaker. But being a salesperson, you have a gift of gab. But I tried to say no, and she was not taking no for an answer. You know how it is with your mom. So I finally gave in. I went and spoke, had a good time, and I actually have a couple posts out there on LinkedIn, like we'll speak for food, which was what I did for almost a full year. People would ask me, hey, Steve, can you come speak at our group? Hey, Steve, can you go do this? And I would speak. If you gave me dinner before or after my talk, I would talk. Right? And that's what most of us start at. That's where you should start. Speaking for free, learning the trade, getting your failures under your belt, because you will fail. You'll have lots of times when you absolutely bomb, especially when you're a new speaker. And that's the telling part of the process. I always use up and coming comedians. So I like to go to comedy clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And I love watching the comedians because they usually have three different ones. They've got the announcer, and that's somebody who's just trying to break. They might have made their debut on the impromptu stage outside, a couple of weeks before, but they're trying to make their way into the comedy club. So they get to announce and do a 5 to 10 minute comedy routine. Then you've got the second person who is, again, established kind of as a comedian, but still trying to work their way into getting good. And then you've got the headliner. And I always use them as an example because a lot of times the person on the microphone who is introducing them bombs terribly, right? Doesn't have a handle on the audience, nothing. And so then you feel sorry for them. You're like, oh man, that's so embarrassing. But it's something they have to go through to grow and learn. And then the second one comes in and may do a little bit better. Some of them are absolutely excellent, but some of them need a lot more work. And then you've got your headliner. And the headliner has failed probably more times than they've ever been on a stage. And that person shows up to help the audience have a good time. And that's what your job is as you learn and grow as a speaker, is to start speaking for free and start learning your craft. And that's really important. Now, I will say, Parul, is that so many times I've watched people who said, I'm a good speaker. Matter of fact, I'm putting on that event here in Tampa next month where I put people on the stage, right? So they can get their speaker reel, their video, so they can submit for jobs. And I ask them the question, are you a great speaker? And almost always in my little questionnaire, they write, yeah. And I went, great speaker means that you speak for $5,000 or more. And they write, oh no, I want to do that. That's who I want to become. And I go, great, but it's interesting how people who don't really speak for significant dollars, some not for any dollars, say that they're really good speakers. So here's my question to those listening. Are you a good speaker? My question is, how do you know you're a good speaker? And let me give you a hypothetical. If Parul goes out and speaks to the group, I'm sitting in the audience, she's speaking, and when she's done, she says, hey, Steve, how did I do? Am I going to look at her and say, you were crappy, you need a lot more work? No, right? I'm not going to, am I? I'm not going to embarrass her. I'm not going to hurt her feelings. I'm not going to do any of that. So if you're not telling your friends and acquaintances that they need to do a lot more work, do you think your friends and acquaintances are telling you? Or do they just tell you, boy, that was really good because it's an easy way out? The only way you're going to know if you're a good speaker is to record it. And then, I don't say this very often, but record it, watch it back, and be very critical of yourself. When you're just starting off, you don't want to criticize yourself much. Perwell and I know that you can get your feelings hurt, and you'll just, I'm not going to do this anymore. So we try and be real cautious with people's feelings. But when you're looking to become a professional speaker, if that's what you want to do, or if you just want to be good in front of your office staff, you have to be very critical of yourself. And those are critical things that you have to start evaluating. Have my friends told me, I've spoken 20 or 30 times, Steve. My friends tell me I'm pretty good. Probably not then. Unless you've recorded yourself. And I honestly say every single person out there should record themselves every single time they speak. Every time. Parul does it here on Facebook. She probably does it when she does her events live back in England. But if we start doing that, then we have footage, even if it's clip footage, that we can use when we start to build our professional speaker reel, if that's what you want to be. And then you have to decide, right? And I guess I will look at this from a different way, because I got a couple notes here. So I'm looking down at these. And Parul had said, Wealthy Wednesday, we have to come with wisdom and knowledge. And then she said, we must be seen and heard. Okay. And that's really the truth. So when we talk about what it's going to take for you to become there's a fee speaker and there's people who pay to play. Neither one is wrong. I'm a fee speaker. People pay me to come talk to their group or organization, like a keynote talk. The pay to play people go to a place where there's lots of people, and then they sell their services to that audience. sometimes, I'll make $5,000 or $10,000 on a talk. I'm like, yeah, I made 10 grand. And then some of my fee speaker friends will walk away with $25,000, $30,000 in their pocket because they were at the right audience, selling the right product, and could sell from stage. That's a gift, and you have to be willing to learn that. And Prue, jump in anytime you
Yeah.
want.
Hold on, Steve. I think there's a minefield of information that you have shared with us. There are a
Okay.
couple of things that I want to say. I really want to highlight the point about video recording that you said. It is so powerful. When you and I started speaking, well, that makes us feel really old, but it's the truth. We didn't have smartphones back then. When I started speaking about 15 years ago, when I started speaking seriously, we didn't have smartphones then. And so the
No.
only way to record myself was to carry that tripod stand, put my camera on it, and fiddle with it, try and work it out, and then upload it, download it. It was a mess. Now it's so much easier. What you've got to do is just record yourself on the phone. And what I would recommend is do 3 things with it. Run with it 3 times, 3 iterations. Yes, one of those things. Yeah.
And you should still have one. If you don't have a
Yes,
little tripod that you can put your phone into, go get one.
yes, you still need that. And that's one of the powerful ways to get your eye contact right when you have the camera right. So what I was saying was, when you record yourself, go through that recording 3 times. One, switch off the video. Just hear yourself out. Really, really powerful to understand how you do on the voice. The next time, cut out the voice. Just see yourself. That's going to be really powerful to help you understand things like how you use your body and what is the presence that you have on stage. Because presence can be something so intangible to understand. It is, you see it, you feel it, but it is so hard to describe it in certain words. And then in the third iteration, you actually go and run the audio and the video together. And that's when the voice and the body, the whole of you, will come together and create the magic that you create on stage. And that's the final output. But if you break your voice and if you break the video and the audio separately, then there is so much more that you will be able to learn about yourself.
That's a great idea. If you guys need to listen to her. She's got some great ideas and information. I will add one other thing. When people are looking to see, especially when you're coming to talk on stage, a lot of people are wooden on stage. They try and, choreograph a move. Here's what you should do sometime. If you got a party at your house, or if you're going to a party at somebody else's house and you're going to be in one room, set up your camera in the corner and just record. Now, what you're looking for is what are your natural moves, so that when you're standing on stage, I just had a guy the other day that when he stood on stage, now we'll talk about this briefly, but he was the 30-minute speaker in front of this organization. The guy offered him a microphone. The room is 50 feet deep and there's going to be about 50 people in it, so there's always noise. He took the microphone and said, do you mind if I don't use the microphone? And he put it down. Always use the microphone because it gives you highs and it gives you lows. You can whisper something to somebody and then you can talk to them, and it gives you all those options. But I digress. At this party, what you're looking for is when he stood there with his hand. I can't show him to you because I'm not standing up, but he stood there with his hands folded in front of him or behind him. That's how he stood. So he might ask a question or talk to somebody. Now, how many times have you stood with your arms behind you, facing a group and talking to them? Almost never, unless you're in the military, right? And how many times do you put your hands down between, like between your legs at your crotch level and just fold your hands there and hold them there? Almost never, right? So while he was trying to do something that a microphone would have helped him with, honestly, he would have had something to do with his hands. He looked really uncomfortable. So start looking at your own videos. So, hey, what do I do when I'm comfortable in a room full of people? How do I move? How do I use my hand gestures? And those will teach you a lot of what Parul just said too, which is, right, you have to separate one from the other. So if all you're doing, you're not recording video there. All you're doing is recording you moving naturally in a room. Those are all going to be helpful ideas. Oh, I loved it. Thanks, Parul, for jumping in. That was nice.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay. You shared with us your story, Steve, but I've still not gathered why is it that you do what you do? Tell us a little
Ah,
about that.
um, I've spoken across the United States for, like I said, 40 years. I started when I was 25. I'm 70 now. And at some points in time, you just get tired. I had somebody, my son's now 32. When he was 8 years old, somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I can make you the next Zig Ziglar or the next whoever it was at the time." And I was like, "Yes, that's a speaker's dream, to travel the world, getting paid big money and write books." And then he told me what it was going to take. And Wayne Dyer did take this route. And I'm really glad I didn't. Wayne Dyer obviously passed away a few years ago, but he was really glad he did take that route. But what it amounted to was they said you would be gone 75 to 80% of the time away from your family. Well, my marriage was a mess, but my son was wonderful. So I had a choice. I could either leave my son in a place that I wasn't happy with and he wasn't happy with, or I could stay and work it out. So I passed on that opportunity. Am I sorry I passed? No, because my son is now 32, traveling Europe right now, having a great life. And if it wouldn't have been for me in his life, probably wouldn't be nearly as good. Who knows, right? But when we talk about what it takes, I had the opportunity to become that speaker, and I passed it down. I said, I don't want it. Take too much away from my family. So along the way, I've had my ups, I've had my downs, and I just want you to know that the economy takes its toll. You have a personal toll you have to take. But I moved through it, and I worked. I had owned 5 different companies, ice cream stores, sporting goods stores, those kind of things. Where I always say that was my supplemental income. I love speaking, but I needed money to keep doing what I was doing, and so down the road, you start speaking again for more money and more money. And then at some point in time, you say, I'm tired of traveling. I just got off the road. Perul knows I just got off the road last year. I spent 5.5 months on the road. Boy,
Wow.
that's just too much time. I didn't want to do it anymore. So last year I formed a company called Speaker Talks. And all it amounts to is it's a speakers academy meant to help people become more successful. I'm not going to spend time on that. That's not why I'm here. But that's part of my story is I want to help people who want to be speakers learn how to be great speakers. Now, I use speakers and I truly mean presenters. Just
Mm.
like when I say speech, I don't mean a speech, I mean a talk. Because the difference between a speech and a talk is if you're giving a speech, you're probably at a college graduation and you're bored to death watching somebody give you a speech. But if somebody is giving a talk, they're interacting with you, right, Parul? That's what the difference.
Yes, yes, I agree.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so those are the things that you have to look at. And I, as we talk about moving from free to fee, okay, or free to pay to play, from free to making money as a speaker, I just want to ask you the question again: are you a speaker? Okay, how do you know you're a speaker? What speaking courses have you taken? Right? What speaking development? What books are you reading now? What podcasts are you listening to? What videos are you tuning into that will help you become a better speaker? So, an example of that is if I go fix the light switch in my house, am I an electrician? Probably not. Just because you go speak doesn't mean you're a speaker. Okay. There are absolutely great speakers, phenomenal speakers, and then there's everyday presenters, right? You go to your you go to your office, and a lot of times those people there are just boring as heck. That's why we say the 4 worst words you can use when going to is it's time for the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh no, boring, right?
Death by PowerPoint.
That's right. Even when you speak out in front of people, remember, you don't want words on a PowerPoint or minimal words. You want images. You are the words. Arul had a really good point, right? Which is you're the words. There's your PowerPoint. If you're doing an hour-long presentation, maybe 5 slides, maybe, right? But not 20 slides for an hour presentation. That's boring, right? You're relying on the slide. Rely on your skills and your ability. So when we talk about are you a speaker? You have to go out and pay your dues to become a speaker. Okay, so whether you plan on becoming a pay to play or a fee speaker, you have to learn the ins and outs of what you can do. So, and I put down here, I
Can
said,
I can I
yeah,
intervene
jump
there,
in.
Steve?
Absolutely. All you have to do is jump in anytime.
Steve, this whole thing about speaking in front of people and the feedback that it brings us and how we feel seen and heard, and it feeds our ego. It's a beautiful space to be in. I mean, I enjoy that attention. I I see people enjoying that attention. But just because we are in that space, what you are saying is it doesn't mean that we have we might be really powerful speakers. That's what you're saying. And so, talk to us a little bit about the reality of being a paid speaker, because what most people see is traveling the world, earning 5K, 10K, 20K for each of the gigs and getting booked and, all that jazz.
Well,
But,
that's okay. Yeah, that's a really good point.
but
That's what I'll
how,
be covering.
yeah,
Obviously, yeah, I'll be covering that at my event for the people who are attending my event here in Tampa next month, or this month, I guess it is. But
this month, of
that's
course.
yeah, this month, the 20th and 21st. But that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So let's briefly hit that, which is, it's great to be a speaker. When you say I've got this, but most people don't understand what it takes to become that speaker. So when we talk about what it takes to become that speaker, we have to be absolutely open, okay, and a willingness to learn our craft. That means you have to have a willingness to invest in that craft. So you have to pay to go take courses and classes. I just talked to a guy the other day and he said, I'm stage, I'm big time. I've been doing this. I went, okay. And in the last 6 months, he said he'd spoken 17 times. I was like, that's gold, right? You can speak 17 times in 6 months. And I said, wow. And then Steve Sapato clicks in and I said, how many of those did you get paid for? One. Big difference between speaking for free and how many people want you to come speak for free and how many are willing to pay you. And
Mm,
that is a huge difference. Matter of fact, I just got a call from him. He's going to be speaking at this. There's 2,000 people 2 hours away from me in Orlando this week. 2,000 realtors, all right? And somebody's putting on this huge event and he's speaking there. And when I first heard, I went, oh, that's really cool. And I said, so tell me about it. And I said, how much are they paying for you for that? Well, first of all, he's doing a breakout session. He hopes to have between 150 and 200 people in a breakout. Well, you don't know how many are going to show up.
yeah.
It depends on the title of your event. Your title, just like when you start talking, your title to your client will help decide whether they're going to hire you. Okay. So if his title is catchy, he'll hopefully get a bunch of people into his breakout. And how much was he getting paid to talk at this group that has 2,000? Free. He's speaking for free again. And I told him he had to record it, right? So better get it recorded, dude. That's what you got to do. But that's the point. When you start saying I'm moving from free to fee, okay, that means you have to have everything in place. So you better have taken all the classes and courses you can take. You better looked at your video. You better had a professional look at your video. Then you have to start putting in place all the stuff that it's going to take to move into this. So I'm not even going to talk about the technical stuff. Let's just talk about you as a speaker, okay? You have to be able to connect with the right company, corporation, right? That takes research. If you don't have a research person, that falls on you. You could spend literally dozens of hours looking through dozens of places to find a place that says, hey, you could speak at our event next year because we have an annual event. Then you investigate them and you see, is this my kind of event? What did the last year's speaker talk about? Does my topic fit into that? Okay, so you've already spent time doing that. So you have to have a signature talk. I say 3 of them, which means you have to spend a lot of time getting this signature talk down. Present it to people for free, right? Not a 45-minute signature talk, but a 15, 20-minute signature talk that really you take the core of what you mean. So you have to have presented that 20, 30 times, okay? Then you can expand it into that 45, 50-minute. And you can't be, if they say, Steve, I need you to talk for 45 minutes. I can't be at 42. I mean, I can, but they don't like it. And I
Yeah.
can't be at 47. You can't be over ever, even 15 seconds. Your talk has to be so good it's right there because they have an event to run. They know how much they've planned out. For them to fill in 5 minutes because you fell 5 minutes short, or for them to try and close up this because you went 5 minutes over, oh, they'll never have you back. So all of this fits in. What's your signature talk? What are all 3 signature talks? How good are you at them? What's your knowledge in them? Can you answer questions in those areas? Are you the expert in your field? And then you have to put together a sizzle reel, a speaker reel. Somewhere you have to get all your video footage, and that's why you should hire a professional crew to come in and videotape you doing a talk. Okay. Yep, that's expensive, but if you're getting paid $5,000 for an event, drop 2,500 into a videographer and have them record you. It'll be worth it. Okay. Then you have to be able to present it to these people, and it can't be just, hey, I'm going to come talk about my talk. You have to have it perfected, and then you have to get to know the client, right? You have to get to know your audience. You have to get to know what the audience is looking for, what your client wants you to teach them, which might be completely different ends of the spectrum. The audience wants to be entertained. The client wants to get information to their people. You have to deliver both. How are you going to do that, right? So all of these things require you to be absolutely a great presenter, a professional. Somebody's going to pay you $5,000. Imagine if you're going to pay $5,000 to put carpet in your house. You don't expect it to be wrinkled when they get all done. You're expecting a professional, and that's what they're expecting from you. So you have to have that 2 to 3 minute video, so that when you go to submit yourself to this company, they will ask you for the title of your talk. They will ask you for a description of the talk, and it better be the right description to match what they're looking for. It's like applying for a job, right?
Yeah.
Has to match up. And then you better have a link to that video at the bottom, because they're going to ask for it, so that they can see you in action. If it's a handmade video with your wonderful iPhone camera, they're probably passing on you. They're not going to pay $5,000 for somebody who's got an iPhone video. They're looking for the professional. So does that help, Parul? Does that get us someplace down the road?
Yes, it is helpful, but I want us to retrace our steps back and help our audience understand how to get started, as in, how do you even find those opportunities? How do you even find those gigs where you can apply?
Well, and I'm going to be real honest here, is you have to have the first part, what I just talked about, in place first. It might take you 6 or 8 months to get all of that in place. That's the foundation for what you're doing. Then there's a couple different programs. I don't have them right here in front of me.
The foundation is the skills-based thing.
The foundation is the skills. Well, the skills are what you've done to get yourself to a place so that you can get your professional reel, you can get your website, right? You can get all those other things in place. So once you have all of those, if you don't have a great website, and I'm talking about a website that showcases you as a speaker, they don't want to know, they want to know a little bit about your book. If you've got a book, they want to know a little bit about you personally, but not much. Okay. They want showcases of you on, that 3 or 5 minute video is going to be your foundation for them looking at you long enough to possibly hire you. That's critical to what you do. So on your website, right, when you're designing it, it should showcase, now a couple things. It should showcase you for a client, potential client. But what you're looking for are those people who hire people, the speaker agencies, the bureaus. So when they look, they'll look at you and say, oh, this guy looks like he's easy to work with. This person looks like they're really easy to work with. They want people who are not going to complain or whine. They're looking for people who make it easy to hire you, bring you in. You're the consummate professional who checks your microphone, who checks your podium, who checks your room, who checks the sound system. All those things, so that the person who hired you in and sends you out says, this is a professional that I enjoy working with, because I never have to worry about Steve Sapato, right? When he gets on that stage, everything's in place. And that's, so go ahead.
My question to you, Steve, is, we are talking about creating that show reel from all these speaking opportunities that can be submitted when we apply for a job. My question is, how does somebody even start gathering data to put that show reel together? Because that means actual speaking.
Yeah, that's why.
So what are some of the things people can do? Where do they start? Do they start in their community centers? Do they start with charity organizations? How do people get started?
All of those, all of the above. Matter of fact, one of the things that makes me crazy is I've attended, I've been doing this 40 years. I still go to other people's functions to try and learn how to be a better speaker, presenter, organizer, all that stuff. When I go and they promise, we'll give you, and I'm trying to think how they word it, but it's like, hey, we'll give you opportunities to speak when this is all said and done. And when I get done, I paid $4,000 to go into one event. And they said, hey, we'll give you all these opportunities to speak when you're done. And when it was done, I said, hey, and they said, we'll send them to you. I went, great. And I waited a week and I didn't get one. And when they finally sent it to me, it was, go talk to the Knights of Columbus, go talk to this, go talk to that. And I wrote to them because I was very upset. I called them, they wouldn't answer. But it was like, wait, I paid $4,000. I'm a professional speaker already. You knew that with me coming in. You should have said, Steve, what we're offering here is not for you, right? Because if you go to the Knights here in America, we call them the Knights of Columbus. You go to the VFW Hall, go to all those places, the charity places that will have you for free. They're looking for speakers who will speak for food. Speak to them and have your camera, right, your tripod and everything set up. I don't have it right here in front of me, but there's a little thing called, matter of fact, right there's a picture of it. And I forget, smart mic, okay? But that's a smart mic. You can be like 40 feet away from that and still have it record like you're right here looking at it. So whatever it takes for you to get your sound recorded properly, okay? Every place you go, record what you're doing. If you're doing a networking event, so and again, I don't know what England does, but in America we have networking events, which is we belong to something, and every week we go meet. Well, if it's your turn to do your 10-minute talk, set up your tripod, everything in place, and then record yourself doing that networking event. You might only take 5 seconds out of that 10-minute talk to put into your speaker reel down the road. But every single time you talk someplace, record it. And go to all the places that will have you. That's honing your skills. And that's also getting footage.
Yeah.
So that you have a clip here, a picture there. Well, and I don't know that you get feedback. Again, honest feedback. That's my
honest
challenge
feedback,
for
you can get feedback if you really want to learn the craft. You can play those videos for yourself.
That's right.
Or you can work with your coach and get some honest feedback. Because if the coach isn't giving feedback honestly, then they aren't doing a very good job.
And Parul just said it. If you don't have, I remember I said a willingness to learn and a willingness to invest. If you don't have a coach, get one. If Parul is with you and you like her style, hire her. I'm not joking. You need to pay in order to play. It's not pay to play, get me on stage, I'll sell something. This is, you have to pay somebody as good as her who's willing to help you, look at you, teach you, coach you, train you, so that you can get on those bigger stages. That's vital to your success, is to have somebody who has that knowledge. Again, I go back to the electrician. Give you an example. My wife and I would love to lose 35, 40 pounds. Every time we sit down to eat, right? My wife and I talk about this. She says, oh, I'll help you. I went, great. And we sat down to eat like the other night. Sat down. I have a big bowl of spaghetti. She says, oh, that's a big bowl of spaghetti. What she's saying is, that's too much. I ignored her, right? I said, I don't care. I'm going to lose weight anyway, the way I'd like to do it. And when I finished that bowl, I went and got a second. She looked over at me, looked back. Now, I know she was looking. She knew I was looking, right? All that stuff. And I ate the second bowl, right? My wife wants to help me. I'm not willing to listen. If you're not willing to listen to your coach, right? Get a new coach or drop out, because you're not going to become that speaker. Parul is here to help you become that speaker, right? So hire her, pay her. I don't have any idea how much she charges, and here's what I would tell you: it doesn't matter. You need to pay. Simple as that. If you pay her and she comes out with the goods, my coach is Elena Rayrig. And she is absolutely phenomenal, and I would pay her every day, which I guess I do, don't I? Yeah. But that's, and I've been doing this for 40 years. Steve, why do you need a coach if you've been speaking 40 years? You always have something more to learn, whether it's about this, how to be a better speaker, how to design your website, how to send out your one sheet. What did you do wrong when you send this that you didn't get any responses? How to do, all this stuff plays part in you becoming a professional speaker. You have to have everything in place, and your follow-up, what we call the CRM, is vital to your success. Just like this gentleman who talked about, he said, I've been hired 17 times in the last 6 months to speak. Well, great. What happens 6 months from now when he hasn't put his speaking business together?
Mm.
Right? Because that's part of it too. You're speaking business so that you maintain a relationship with all the people that you've put together. And if you don't do that, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months down the road, everything dries up. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? Because you haven't built a foundation to continue a business. It's true with any business, isn't it, Parul?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Speaking is just like any other business that you would build. There's work to be done, there are skills to be hired, you would make the investments, you've got to market yourself, and you've got to do what it takes.
Yep. And if you watch what she does, she is absolutely phenomenal at trying to keep you involved, following up, following through, reaching out to you. Now, and I want to point something out here too. Parul put out something on her organization. She said, "What do you guys want to learn? Because I want to keep you engaged." Something like that recently. And what I want you to know is I have 3 meetup groups. Do you guys have meetup in England?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay. I've got 3 meetup groups, 2 for speakers and 1 for adventures in Tampa. And in each of those, I have between 20 and 60 people. And do you know, and I've had them for, the one I've had, 2 of them I've had for like 8 or 10 months. And do you know, in that 8 or 10 months, I bet you I've sent out 20 emails and only gotten like 5 people to respond. Now, there's 56 people in one of those groups. So if you got 7 or 8 emails out to 56 people, certainly 20, 30, I mean, they joined the group. They wanted to learn how to be better speakers. And yet when you send out an invitation to, hey, let's all meet for coffee. Hey, let's all have a webinar and we'll talk about speaking. Hey, in all of these things, maybe 5 people have said, I'm interested, or I want more information, or I will attend. I've got another one for events in Tampa. And I've just picked it up from somebody, but there were already 56 people in that group. And I've had 5 events. We went to Topgolf, we went kayaking, we went to a comedy club, and I'm trying to think where else we've been. But we had 5 events. 2 people out of 56 even responded that they were going to attend those 5 events. Why join the group if you're not going to attend? If you've joined Parul's group, it's your responsibility to learn from her. She puts out the information. She puts out great information. And if you guys aren't tuned in, if you guys aren't attending the little webinars, if you aren't attending, if you're not writing to her saying, I need more information, can you help me do this? Then you're wasting her time, and her time is valuable. Please, if you've joined, act, become, and start responding to these people who are trying hard to give you help and information, right, Parul?
That's true. But I think it just boils down to priorities, isn't it? So everybody's so time poor. And so we want to do things, but we aren't always able to do them. And I think it just boils down to priorities, because at the end of the day, everybody has 24 hours. So I get it if somebody isn't able to focus on a particular task now, but then there's no kidding about it. Let's own that and focus on what is it that is important to us. So thank you for that, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah. But that is right. I mean, if you're on here and you say, I want to be a speaker, and you join the group because you want to be a speaker, then start getting information to be a speaker. If you don't want to be a speaker, then drop out of the group. I'd rather have 10 absolutely committed people to learning how to be a speaker in my groups than 150 who don't really care, right? Because it's frustrating to us. In case you guys haven't figured this out yet, we don't offer to help you because we're going to make $1 million. We're not Tony Robbins, right? We're not the rich gurus of the world, right? We are here. We put our time on the line. I guarantee you, if you join Tony Robbins' coaching group, or you do this or do that, you're never going to talk to Tony Robbins, right? He's not there. He's got 100 flunkies that are doing the job, right? And if you join one of our groups, you're dealing with the person who cares enough for you to offer their time, effort, and energy. Oh man, Parul is right here for you. And if you're not taking advantage of that, you're making a huge mistake. All right, so let's talk about a couple other things then. What does it take to move from free to fee? And that is, we've already talked about, you have to lead that foundation. You have to get in your time to talk. You have to record yourself. You have to invest in yourself, like on things like this, not just your time, but also some of your money. So you have to invest in yourself to buy the right programs, to pay the right coach. And then you have to start learning how. And she asked the question, how do you find the paying speaking gigs? And I'm going to tell you something. You have to pay to play there. There's no easy way. You could go through, if you, if you did a Google search and came up with all associations doing a yearly event, they might give you 10,000, right? Then you have to pick out one. You have to bring up their website. You have to see if you can find, where they're putting on the event, who's running the event, how do you contact. I'm telling you, I've spent years trying to figure that out myself. And finally, you figure out that there are pay-to-play events out there. I wish I could tell you the name of the software, but I'll be introducing it at my event. I don't pay for it. I don't have anything to do with it. But it's if you found a very successful speaker, I'm not going to use Tony Robbins as an example, but you guys know your own. I've got one or two that I follow, the Barry Banthers of the world. And if I want to, if I speak on the same thing Barry Banther speaks on, and if I want to speak to the similar audiences, I can put Barry Banther's name into this software and find out where he's spoken for the last 12 months. And then I can apply, right, to those places. I'm not stealing any information. I'm just finding out. But that's a pay. You pay every month, a certain amount. There's also another one that I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'll call it Speaker's Calendar. But every month they send me 200 events. Every month, 200 events that I could apply to, and it gives you the link. So when you open that up, here's the link, here's speaking link. So you can go in and apply for that, and you can see who they're looking for at the next one, what they spoke on the last one about. Are they looking for similar speakers? But it's still time consuming. Oh my gosh, by the time you do 10 of those, you spend a whole day just researching and finding out. So finding the events that pay, and again, I want to really emphasize, if you don't have the business model, you could find 10 events that pay you $5,000 if you've got everything else in place. So you speak for the next 3 months, get $5,000 for each one. You made 5,000, 5 times 10 speeches, you made 50 grand. Yeah, 50 grand. And then, right, if you do not put those into your CRM system, they go away. People forget about you. You forget who you spoke to. You forget who you talked to. And then 5 months down the road, you're like, how come nobody's calling me to talk? How come I can't get back those? You see, it's a business, and Perul will help you build that business.
Thank you,
Right,
Steve.
Perul?
Yeah. The skills part, definitely. I can help people with.
Yeah, and if she needs more information, she'll reach out to me. I'll send her some information. She'll reach out to you, right? You see, one of the things we don't talk about much is, and I'm a nutball on this, which is every time you see something from Perul or myself now, every time you see something on Facebook or LinkedIn that says, this is our event, or this is what we need, like I've got an engaging speakers group on Facebook. I would love for people to come join that. It's free. Just come so you can help people in that group. I will help post stuff in that group. But what we're saying is it's the relationships you're going to start building, the relationships between you and me and her. I can't emphasize enough how much in this last 24 months, my life has absolutely changed because I've made some phenomenal connections like her, okay, who will help me and I can help them. She said it, I feel good when I come on and I talk to you folks. I feel great about being able to help you with a little information. Maybe you knew all the stuff I talked about today, but you went, ooh, that one idea, Steve. That's your job. Your job is to find one idea from every event that you attend. My job is to spew all the information I can spew, right? And so I want you to understand that the relationship you have with her, the relationship she develops with me, will give you guys more opportunities down the road. Right now, in America.
And that's true for every relationship. It's not just about you and me. It's true for every relationship that you would develop in this group or anywhere else for that matter. Because we know that we don't just hire or engage with people who have skills. Yes, that's skills. Right. People have to have those skills, but you've got to also know, like, and trust them. And that's is right. Why relationships are so important. And all of us know that, don't we? But
Absolutely.
it's implementing that knowledge that's critical.
You know what's interesting is, let me finish up that thought. So when you see something from her or I on either Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, right? Instead of hitting like, it makes me nuts. Oh, I hit like. I liked what Perul had to say. Stop it, right? Forward, right? You either want to share or you want to, whatever your button is, share. I want to share that. Oh, hey, here's a good tidbit from Steve. I need to share that. Steve hates likes. Steve hates likes. The same, look at this finger. See that finger? That same finger will hit share. And your share reaches a lot more people than your like. You want to help Parul? Every time hit share. Stop hitting like. Facebook doesn't care about like, right? LinkedIn doesn't care about, hey, you got a heart there. Nope, share and post it up on yours. How many things can you post? As many as you need. Every time you see something about a business that you appreciate, share it, please, okay? And that's vital to our connectivity, because when I've got 3 people who absolutely share everything I post, and you think if they reached out and said, hey, Steve, would you help me with this? I wouldn't do it for free. Now, maybe it's not possible to always do it for free, but if it is, I guarantee you, because many times as they hit share, I owe them. I owe them big time. They're reaching people I could never reach. And so when you start to build your business, you'll appreciate that share versus like, right? And that's really important for you to get out there. Oh, and I started off on that because it was like, I'll give you an example of referrals too. Somebody I know, one of my clients coming to this event that I'm putting on, need work on his website. And he said, hey, I'm getting ready to hire somebody on my website. I already talked to this person. I went, hold on, how much is that person charging you for the website? And he said, they're going to charge me this much. I said, do they do speaker websites? And he went, I don't think so. I don't know. I went, then forget it. And I referred him to this other person that I know who does speaker websites, and she's absolutely phenomenal at it. And she reached back to me after I referred, and she said, what can you tell me about this person? You see, a referral isn't just a referral. The more she can know about this person, their ins and outs, their personalities, their idiosyncrasies, the more she's going to be able to connect with them and help them in their journey. So when you reach out to Parul, right, make sure if you're going to refer somebody to her that you know enough about them. Imagine referring somebody to fix her light switch, and somebody comes over and tears out the wall and then disappears. Would you say, hey, I'm really happy I referred that person to you? Probably not. So make sure that your referrals are people that you know, like, and trust, as Parul was saying.
Thank you for that, Steve. Okay, Steve, if there is one message you could share with people who want to use their storytelling and speaking skills to change the world, because that's what we want to do, isn't it? Use a story and a message to change the world, as cliched as it may sound, but this phrase does the job. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, Parul and I differ widely on storytelling, and it's okay. She has this thought on storytelling. I have this thought on storytelling. So actually, I'm changing mine. I'm going to coin a phrase called storytizing. All right. I really promote storytizing, which is you take your story, you throw it in a blender, you blend it all up, you pull it out, and what do you have? You have your story using their emotions and their memories. It's so vital. Let me give you an example. I went to the store and I parked in the parking lot, and I went inside and I bought an ink pen. I paid at the cash register. I came back out. I got in my car and I drove home. Woofda. Were you excited about that or what? Right? Most of you probably tuned out, said, what's that all about? Now, let me tell you the same story, only I'm going to use your memories and your emotions. Have you ever gone to a store to buy anything like an ink pen? Is that a yes? Yeah, sure. Almost all of us have gone someplace to buy something. Well, can you imagine walking to the store, or would you drive to the store? Right? Most of us would drive to the store because it's pretty far away to get that ink pen. Unless you live downtown. Anybody here live downtown in a big city? Right? Because then you're usually walking, taking the bus, transportation. Right? I hate public transportation. How about you? But we go in, and when you're looking for that ink pen, you got a certain ink pen in your mind, don't you? Most of the time, you don't just go, I'm going to buy an ink pen. You've got a specific kind of ink pen you're looking for, right? And then, is there ever anybody there to help you? not in most of these stores, right? Isn't that one of our frustrations that you walk in and you're like, well, where do I find ink pens, right? Then you walk all the way back up to the cash register and you say, hey, where's your ink pens? And finally that lady goes, oh, aisle 27. Go ahead, help yourself, right? They don't show you around anymore. So you get my drift? Instead of saying, I went to the store and I bought an ink pen and I came back, you've now involved your audience in that whole storytizing, which is, we've all gone there. We've all experienced that, and share that emotion and that frustration and that other stuff that now captures your audience. When I teach people how to be excellent speakers, how to capture that audience, right? How to walk out on the stage, how to enter the stage, how to leave the stage, how to come with an opening statement, how to leave with an ending statement, right? How to absolutely move that audience and the people who hired you. That's what it's all about.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So yeah, storytelling to me is an absolute skill. It's something that you have to master. It's something that you have to perfect if you're going to become an excellent speaker. How many people want to become an excellent speaker? Go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, look it. There it is. Everybody who tunes in. I love it. Don't you love it? And that's going to be the key, is finding out how to reach that audience. Now, there's lots of also things that I tell people they shouldn't do. And Parul, you probably go along with all this, which is don't make your audience do anything, right? I was at another event recently, another networking event, and this person stood up, had the microphone, and went, hey, now keep in mind, I live in Tampa. Hey, good morning, Tampa. And the people went, hey. He went, no, 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 come on, we're in Tampa. Everybody yell Tampa. And everybody's like, Tampa. He goes, come on, you can do better. Really? I'm 70 years old and you're making me yell Tampa at your stupid event? I don't like you very much, right? And so people do that. Like when you go out, first of all, never, you want to show that you're a brand new speaker? Walk out on the stage and say, give yourselves all a round of applause for being here. Don't ever do that, right? Another one is, hey, you're trying to make a point. And you say, now turn and hug the person next to you. No, don't make me do anything with the person next to me. First of all, I may not even know them, right? Second of all, I'm not a hugger. Don't make me hug. I hug my wife all to death, but you make me hug a strange person? I'm not gonna. It's like, and then I'm turned off to you. It's like, you ever go to church and have the pastor do that? Everybody turn and hug the person next to him and say the blessing. Quit it. I don't want to hug the person next to me. I didn't go to church to be a hugger. I went to church for God to strike me dead. I don't know what I went to church for, right? So you have to go, when you're doing things, have to understand the motivation of your audience. If you ever get the opportunity to speak that $5,000 or $10,000, okay, and only, now listen to what I'm saying, only 20% of you who are watching this video will ever get that opportunity. The rest will drop out because it's hard work and it's a profession that you have to craft. But if you get that opportunity to go speak, and let's say I'm the keynote speaker on Saturday morning at this big event, and I talk to the people who've invited me. Of course, they bring me in the night before, so we don't have to worry about missing a flight. Always come in the day before, but I always ask, is there a cocktail party scheduled for this event? Now, sometimes I tell you it's just for the, head honchos. It's just for the CEOs, the biggie wigs. I go, great. What time do you want me to show up? Now, they didn't say, hey, you get to come. What time do you want me to show up? And if it's for everybody, hey, everybody's invited to the cocktail party the night before. I want to go. I want to find out who the jokers are. I want to find out who the players are. I want to find out how they refer to Mr. Big, right? Is it Mr. Smith or is it Smitty, right? Depending on the size of the company, it's Mr. Smith. Some people go, well, Tom Smith. I go, oh, do you call him Tom? They go, oh, no, we got to call him Mr. Smith. Then I want to make sure I meet Tom Smith, right? And we get to say hi to each other. And then I say, would you mind if I called you Tom? Now, keep in mind, I'm coming in as the expert to help his company. If I say, do you mind if I call you Tom, or would you prefer something else? I don't ever say Mr. Smith. That's not what I want. So he'll say, you know what, my friends call me Smitty or something like that, right? Then when I'm introduced on stage, hopefully by Smitty, right? And everybody in the audience is saying, oh, Mr. Smith is introducing Steve Sapato. And I walk out and I go, hey, Smitty, thanks a lot. And I shake his hand and people are like, whoa, he knows him. I just got instant credibility because I could call Mr. Tom Smith by his name of Smitty. And he's excited because It just works out that way. There's all kinds of little tweaks. There's all kinds of little things that we can teach you that will make you a huge success on stage. So ask away, ask your questions. We'd love to hear from you.
Steve, that reminds me, when I introduce people, what I like to do is get away from that CV resume kind of introduction and show them as the human they are, the people they are. Because one thing that happens is when I'm giving an intimate introduction of the person they are, what I'm essentially doing is I'm taking some of that load off them and onto me, because I'm almost vouching for them as somebody who knows them. So it's my responsibility. And if my audience knows me, and if they trust me, they say, aha, she's saying good things about him or her or them. And that credibility it shoots up instantly. And that is why
So let
I
me
think.
ask you a question. I've never met Parul before, right? I'm a brand new client of hers. I brought her in. We haven't had a conversation. My underlings have talked to her the whole time. And I'm going to introduce Parul on the stage. Parul, how do you get a good introduction?
How would I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce you. How do you get me to introduce you the way you want me to?
Okay. I would want you to introduce me as the person I am. What is it that I stand for? And not in a big preachy way, but how is it really like to be around me? What is it like to be?
How would I know that? How do you get? I mean,
Oh, you
you're
would
going to
need
have
to do that homework. No,
you're going to have 5 minutes with me. You're going to have 5 minutes with me, young lady, before I introduce you on stage, because I'm
okay.
Mr. Big.
Oh, you're the big guy here.
I'm the big guy, and
So
I'm going to introduce you.
Wouldn't you be doing any kind of homework?
Okay, so let's talk about that. I've been on 50 stages where Mr. Big he can't even pronounce my name, right? They go, Mr. Sapato, we're going to welcome Steve Sapato. The frick,
Well, most people
man,
can't pronounce my name
right?
where I live.
Yeah, and so you just go, you want to just go, this is so stupid. So I've got tip after tip after tip that you can get from both of us. So just ask her. You can ask me. Either way, we'll get it. But always have an index card with your name spelled out pronunciation, right? Sapato, right? So that way this person can look at the code. All you do is walk up to them 5 minutes before, because honest, you'll talk to their underlings, but you may never speak with the biggie wig until 5 minutes before you walk out, because you got 4,000 people sitting out in this audience. They don't have time to talk to the speakers. They brought you in to do the job, and they still want to be in front and show that they're in charge, but they don't want to get to know you. So you hand them this index card and have 4 sentences that they should read very carefully printed out so that they can read it quickly while holding it in front of them. And I will tell you what, 50% of the time, they will read your name and then they will introduce you. They won't even say the rest of the 4 sentences. Sometimes they'll get through 2 of the 4 sentences. And then they'll just say, yep, I'm bringing out Steve Sapato. He's the most famous, unfamous speaker in America. And he is the one who's going to train you on communication skills. Mr. Sapato, right? And that's it. So there was 4 more lines or something underneath there. He doesn't care. They don't care. Understand that you hand them that card. And even then, they'll take that card, they'll hold it down at their side, and they'll look at it, and then they'll go. And that's why I don't even put my correct name in there. I only have it, and I forget the term, but only by pronunciation, whatever they call that, right? So it says Steve. Everybody can read Steve, but the last name is only like S-U-H, space P-A, right, with the short Sapato, T-O-E, Steve Sapato. Great. All right. Because if you put your real name there, they'll read your first name, and then they'll go, Steve Sapato, here we come. Right? Make sure you know how to get your introduction the way you want it done.
Sure.
Right? So she's right. I would love for somebody to get to know me better, and never have them speak for more than 15, 16 seconds before you walk out on that stage. I watched one guy many years ago, and I loved it, and I've done it a couple times, but he had this long thing written out. And this guy starts it. He says, I want you to read it word for word. Read it word for word is what he told the guy. So he's walking out and the guy's like, Mr. Sapato, he has a PhD in this. He has a master's in that. He's been this and he's been that. He's been this and he's been that. And this person came walking out on stage and went, thanks, Tom. Yeah. They all know I'm fantastic. And of course, the audience went wild when he interrupted Tom, the biggie wig, right? And then took the card and tore it up right in front of him, threw it on the stage, and shook his hands with Tom, and Tom walked off, both of them happy. And it's really important to know that 15, 20 seconds is the max you want for an introduction. Nobody wants to know about you. They want to know how you're going to entertain them for the next hour, 45 minutes, whatever it might be.
Yeah. What is in it for them?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. Thank you for that. I'm just going to quickly run through the Facebook group and see if there are any questions that our audience has submitted.
Cool.
And so there's a question from Beata. She says, I just joined and I'm not sure if you already talked about speaking for free to get your name out there. I would like to hear your insight. Yes, Beata, this is something that we talked about. And Steve has suggested that we grab every possible opportunity there is and record ourselves, because that evidence, that recording is going to help us put evidence for us to build our speaker's reel that we would need to submit when we apply for speaking gigs. Did I get that right?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Every place you can find for free, and that's, start asking other speakers, where have you spoken for free? Start going to all the little places, all the volunteers, all the places who want to help other people. Again, in America, we have Knights of Columbus, we have VFW halls, we have all these things, but every place.
Yes. Okay, let's check
We're running
comments.
down the Facebook group. Running down the Facebook. Oh, and that was Beata. You said that was Beata? Hey, Beata, next time, tune in on time. What are you doing?
Okay, Lori says, it's good to know that would be the way they would introduce you. I agree with Parul because I find it humbling when somebody introduces me as a human being and from their heart. So yeah, that works, yeah. And who is anyway interested in your big resume or qualifications? People aren't interested in them. I would say knowing our skills, that's just a given. We've got to be good at what we do, otherwise we wouldn't be there. And so it is more than that. The introduction is more than that.
Remember that when and we do the networking groups here, the 30 people or 15 people, whatever it might be. Remember, when you get up to do your 10-minute talk, don't tell people about you or your company, right? So if I'm trying to get you to use my insurance company, and I tell you we established this in 1888, and we're this many people, nobody cares about your company. Pick out a specific reason that you're there. Like, do you know somebody who's had their home broken into? Right? And if one of those 30 people raises their hand, you go, those are the people I'm looking for because, and then say how I can specifically help people who had their home broken into. Yeah. If you keep telling me you're an insurance agent, we go to sleep, our brains go someplace else.
Yeah. Steve, last question for you now. Well, okay. For now. Are there any templates that you could share with us that our members could use when they reach out to these conference organizers, put their name forward for these speaking gigs?
Again, you say the templates. No, because they put out their own templates. If you go to these speaking gigs, you have to fill out the form that they've designed every single time, and it'll have what's the title of your talk, what's the description of your talk. Yep. And again, you should know, it's really vital. Parul said, I want them to know me and introduce me as this person, because that's important, right? And that's what the company is thinking when you go to apply for their speaking gig. Yep. Did you read what they're looking for very carefully so that you can apply for that particular talk, right? And convey it succinctly to their group. So they're asking for, what's the title? So if you've got a title of yours is, I'm trying to think of the title, which is the proper etiquette for eating a frog, which is stop procrastination is what the thing is. So if mine is the proper etiquette for eating a frog, and I read this, and they don't play that game, then I better put, something else about how to stop procrastination. So you have to have that title adaptable to that particular group. And then the description's the same way. If everything they read about it, and if you went and saw the last speaker and how they spoke, it'll help you get a description down. And again, when you're done there, they're going to ask for your speaker reel. Now, it doesn't have to pertain to that topic. They just want to see you performing in front of an audience, okay? But it's so vital you understand that just filling out the application could take you half an hour, right? Don't be in a rush. If you want a $5,000 job, do the work to get the $5,000 or $10,000 gigs, and we'll be glad to help you.
Is it possible to be able to collect that raw material for the speaker's reel by speaking on the video?
I'm sorry, ask me that again.
Is it possible to gather material for our speaker's reels, for our show reel, by speaking on video and not on the stage?
No. Everybody can speak on a video like here. Everybody can speak here. Doesn't take any skills for me to talk on camera, talk in the video. They want to see you on stage. They want to hear the audience reaction. That's why every once in a while, if you go look at some of the speakers, you'll see somebody who's on a stage and they're talking, but there's no peripheral information. There's nobody else talking. There's nobody else laughing. There's nobody else clapping. And some, obviously you can tell the fake claps, because I've even seen people put fake applause in, you know. But there's nothing that's why I put together speaker talks. There's nothing that replaces the live audience when you have to give your talk. And again, you're only looking for 3 minutes out of a 15 or 20-minute talk. You know, for us, you're only going to cut out about 3 minutes of that. In real life, if you were able to get on a big stage, you'd want that clip, even if it's taking your audio out of the one that you professionally recorded and putting it with the one of you on a stage in front of 1,000 people where the audio was terrible. You got the video that shows you on a stage in front of 1,000 people, and the audio of people stage in front of 40 people. Okay, and that really, you'll find a professional guy. We can introduce you to the professional guys who can put together a speaker reel that will wow them. And it only takes 2 or 3 real presentations, and then they'll take pictures of you at an event, pictures of you at a stage. Some people, and I know this for a fact, will walk up in front of a group. So I could go down to Orlando, which I'm heading to in about 20 minutes. So I'll drive down to Orlando. Here's the big real estate convention. I could put on my sport coat and tie, and I never wear a tie, sport coat and white shirt, and go stand in front of it and do a selfie, or have somebody else take a picture of me, you know, so I could step on this, like the stairs going up to the stage. So like they're on a break. And I show myself walking up the stairs like I'm going onto this stage, and they take a snapshot of me. People do those kinds of things that show them in places they're not really in, and then put together their speaker reel. So be creative in what you get your people to take pictures of you doing, how you're doing them, all that stuff. Once you get that solid speaker reel here, you can build around it so easily.
Right. Lori has a question. My question is about the speaker's reel for beginners. Will they want to hire you, even if your reel doesn't have you on the stage?
You're probably wasting your time to put together a speaker reel if you're not on a stage or in front of a significant audience. If I'm in front of the Knights of Columbus and there's 22 people there, it's possible that you'll get a decent recording, but probably not. It's going to show as a lesser recording. What you have to really have is that professionally recorded speaker reel. Okay. And again, I'm talking about, it might only be 30 seconds worth of that professional recording, depending on how you build your speaker reel. But you got to have the microphone, you got to have the microphone, you got to have, the microphone, you got to have that showing you on stage in front of an audience. And that's critical. Without the audience, you're wasting your time, because to apply for a $5,000 gig when you haven't spoken in front of a significant audience or can't prove that you have, they're just not going to pay attention to you. There'll be 10 of me, right, applying for this job, and 100 of you, and they're going to look at the 10 professional speaker reels and look at they'll take 10 seconds to look at yours and go, nope, 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 right? And that's how they determine. That's really the key. So I hope that helped, Lori. Thanks for the question.
It's just like applying to any job. I mean, that's the amount of time a recruiter spends on your CV.
Yeah, that's right.
Just a few seconds, just a few seconds.
And even then, now, and you probably know this too, but they have a rubric. But if you put in your CV, they run it through a system. And if you've got these 12 keywords, you move to the next level. If you don't have those 12 keywords, you don't even make the cut. You could be the best person for the job in the whole world. And if you don't have those 12 keywords and they're not talking to you, and that's kind of what you're looking at here, you have to have the right information.
Yes. So let's sum up everything. Steve, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. One of the main takeaways is obviously we have got to work on our skills and invest in our skills, because when somebody's paying us, when somebody's giving us opportunity to speak on the stage, even if it is free, then we have got to do a great job. And if they are paying us loads of money, which all of us want, or most of us want, let me not generalize it
That's
or
right.
stereotype it. So I don't want any money stories going, no, that's not me.
Not me, not me. I don't want
Not
money.
me.
I just want to help people. I don't want any money. Well,
Yeah,
you can't help people without money, that's for sure.
I want money and I want to help people. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's my money story, but that's another thing. And when people are paying lots of money, then they want the very best, because they are paying, and as a client they would be demanding. So that's the skills part of of speaking. The second thing is we have got to have all the data in place, the evidence in place, and we start by speaking wherever we get the opportunity. Charity organizations, community centers, every single opportunity.
That's right.
Speaking for free, recording them. I'm guessing that most of us would be able to start recording on our iPhones or on our phones, and then we hire somebody to put a proper show reel together. Is that what you meant when you said record everything?
That's right.
Because
Record
we
everything
can't,
and then go ahead.
because we can't take a videographer with us every time. So we can record it on our phones and then turn it into a show reel.
That's
And
right.
And the third important takeaway, which will always come in any kind of speaking, well, there were so many golden nuggets that Steve shared with us, was customizing all that information to your audience, that is, to the job that you're applying for. Because it's not just about what you have to speak, it is also about how that aligns with the audience. So what is it that they're looking for, and making everything that you've got to offer bespoke to that client or to that prospect. That's what is really required. And the final message was, it is not easy. Well, there is no shortcut. So you've got to put in the work. We've got to put in the work. But if that's something you want to do, it is going to be totally worth it, because there is power in sharing our story. There is immense power in sharing our message with the world. So there's no shortcut, people. That's what one big message out of this conversation is. But whatever the hard work is, it's going to be so worth it. That's my takeaway. Did I get that right, Steve?
You got it exactly right. When you get to travel your country, travel the world, travel wherever you want to go because you put in the work. What if it took you 3 years to put all this together, and then you spend the next 20 years living that dream? Would it be worth it?
It will
So
be.
don't rush
Yeah.
the process. I get so many people. I just had one the other day. He said, Steve, I want to be this speaker. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this. And I went, oh, great. I said, hey, I'd love to have you attend. He said, but I need speaking skills because I went, great. And I sent him the links to the thing. He writes back an hour later and says, I don't have time to attend a 2-day event. I went, you don't? He says, can you shortcut that for me and so I can become a speaker? And I went, well, I got a $5,000 program, if you want to join in that. And he said, well, that's too much money. You see, there's no way to shortcut what you want to do. You either are going to pay the price and grow into that speaker, or you're never going to make, and really never going to make 5,000, much less 10,000. Or some of my friends are making $20,000 and $25,000 per talk. People pay that. I'm still shocked by it. I was working with a person the other day, a bureau, and she said, Steve, I can't work with you. I said, you can't work with me? And she went, you don't charge enough money. I went, what? I'm $10,000 an hour. And she went, I start at $15,000 an hour, and my high paid speaker is $75,000 an hour. You don't make my cut. And I'm like, 75. But you see, the guy making $75,000 an hour wants to make $125,000 an hour. And there are people out there who pay that. You and I think in our box. right? Us to say $5,000 or $10,000 seems like a fortune, but when you're making 5,000, you say, I want to make 10. When you're making 10, you want to make 20. See, and that's going to be your key. Let's start you off by not shortcutting. 6 months is the minimum time you need to get yourself in place to apply for these $5,000 gigs, $10,000 gigs. Okay. And we'll talk about how you price yourself after you've accomplished the basics for what we've been talking about for the last hour.
Brilliant. Brilliant. There's one final message I want to share with the audience, and that's something Steve has touched upon. Well, not touched upon, really been very open and loud and clear about it. That is, you've got to do it. You've got to start sharing your story. You've got to step on the stage or on the video and start speaking. And that is indispensable. You cannot become a speaker without doing it. There is this analogy I like to give that there's only so much cooking you can learn by watching MasterChef. If you don't step in your kitchen and if you don't cook, you are never going to make much progress. So if you think you want to become better at speaking, or you want to become a great speaker or a magnificent speaker, but if you're not really willing to put yourself out there and speak, then the chances of making that progress are very, very low. And yeah, tiny. There's only so much that you can learn by watching other people, no matter how amazing those people are. So we can all have all our role models, we can admire people, we can appreciate people, but we have to step into the arena and play the game. So that's the final message I want to leave with you. I hope you are a bit richer when it comes to speaking and storytelling than you were an hour and 15 minutes ago. And Steve, thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with our tribe. Thank you so much. It is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Steve, he's a member of the group. You know where to find him, or you can send those questions to me and I'll make sure that they reach Steve. All right. Thank you, people. Have a great rest of the day wherever you are. Thanks, Steve. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.